After we have received his encouragement, received his instruction, we need to receive his promise. We need to be reminded of his promise. Several weeks ago, I don't know how, maybe a couple of months ago now, when we began this idea of walking through the book of Joshua, I challenged you to search Scripture and write down all the promises that God has made to you. It's an extremely encouraging thing. It's a life-giving thing. Several of you have. Some of you have texted me your picture of your list of all the promises you've written down so far, and that blesses my heart immensely. Because here's the thing, Joshua, in his lowest moment, needed to know that God had already granted the next victory to him. Otherwise, he had no ability to get up. And as you face life, the only way you're going to get up is to know what God has promised. He will never leave you nor forsake you. He's begun a good work in you, and he's going to see it through to completion. All things are going to be made right. The things he's prepared are greater than we can see, hear, or imagine. Those are just a few of my favorite promises that God has made, but there's so many others. So many others. Do you know the promises of God? Are you clinging to them? Are you treasuring them? Are you living them? God said to Joshua, I have already given into your hand the king, his people, his city, and his land. These same people that ran you out of town because you weren't following my instructions, they've already been given to you. The king's on his throne, the people are mad, they're ready for a fight, they are already yours. They weren't yours when you were disobeying me, but you've swept all that up. You fixed all that. Achan and his family, his animals, they were stoned and burned, and stones piled up upon them because they chose material possessions over the promises of God. They chose a handful of things over what God had already given them. And so now that that's done, that's dealt with, that's moved, God says, remember, I've already given you this king, his people, his land, his city. You're going to have to listen to my instruction or you're never going to have it. Let me encourage you, but ultimately, stand upon the promise I have made you. That's the story of what God says to Joshua. Joshua was called to be the leader, and as he followed God, he led well. When he didn't, it didn't go well. But it wasn't his quality that made him succeed. It wasn't Joshua being a good person. It was the fact that God had made a promise. That's the same for you. It's not that you're a good person, not that you've got it figured out. It's not that you've got all things under your control. It's that God has made a promise, many of them. As we cherish them, stand upon them, and know them, we can get up when we stumble.